Meanwhile, on the offensive line, Connor McGovern, we expect him to leave the Bills, joining us on the Worcester Hotline. The Big O, Jerry Ostroski, to talk about it with us. Jerry, good morning.
Hey, what's up, man? I thought we were going to talk about Sabres free agency. I guess we're not, right?
Listen, how far is it for you to get to St. Louis?
You got any St. Louis connections?
We need you to drive to St. Louis and be the muscle to convince Colton Parayko to come to Buffalo.
Actually, I can. I'm about 6 hours away. I've got people in St. Louis.
All right.
I know Pronger very well, Chris Pronger.
All right.
Seriously, we can do this.
Make a call. Call Pronger. Let him know.
Yeah.
Let him know. Colton Parayko's got to come. Well, Jerry, we got you on to talk about Connor McGovern because the story is the Bills have not contacted him since the end of the season, and he's of the belief that he will leave. He will leave in free agency. So the first part of it is, how difficult will it be to replace McGovern for the Bills?
Well, I think it won't be easy. I mean, you're looking at a really good vet that's played good football. I mean, obviously we got a guy like Cedric Van Pran-Granger, that's been kind of being groomed over the last few years. You've got Alec Anderson that has some center experience. But no, this is a guy that, for all intents and purposes, after Tyler Lindenbaum is the next center up, and as far as free agency goes, you got a ton of teams that need center help now, especially like with Chicago and Dahlman retiring. So, really good football player that's going to command a lot of money to get him on your roster.
So, if he were to leave, Van Pran-Granger, did you like him coming out in the draft? And do you feel like going to him? It's not going to a rookie because he's been with the team for a couple of seasons. Should there be an expectation that he could do this?
Yeah, I can. I mean, I would really like to see him get a good shot at the job. I mean, the biggest thing is, fellas, I mean, we haven't really seen him. He had the injury last offseason, didn't do anything through camp, had the calf injury, played a game this season when we were resting starters, did a good job, I thought. I mean, he's got limitations, but let's be honest. 90% of all players in the league have some sort of limitation. Obviously, he was a multi-year captain at Georgia, played against really good talent in the SEC. I like the kid. I think he's gritty. He's a leader. I think he deserves a shot for sure.
Would you expect there to be a competition? I guess it's going to depend, right? If they lose Edwards and McGovern to big free agent contracts, I guess would you feel comfortable with two guys that don't have a lot of starting experience, Van Pran-Granger, Anderson, filling in both their spots, or would you want to see them do something more at the position in terms of a veteran or I guess a draft pick too?
Yeah, that's a great question. I personally think if you go with the Van Pran-Granger, you better bring a free agent in. I don't want to, and a guy that can battle with Alec Anderson. I don't want two young guys side by side. I mean, I'd really like to see a veteran come in, a guy that's maybe had some time in the league, that's gotten some snaps, that can not only help out Van Pran-Granger, but also, solidify that spot next to Deion Dawkins. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing goes. I personally my dream scenario would have been get McGovern back and then draft one pretty high to play left guard and start grooming more talent in that offensive line, because I think this whole thing kind of points towards a Osiris Torrance extension, but that's not 100%. And you've got to keep guys in the pipeline. I would have loved to have seen us draft one, bring McGovern back, and then try to really, solidify the next so many years.
Before we get to Torrance, Osiris Torrance, Jerry, I know like you mentioned like the two young guys. Your biggest concern would be a young guy next to Dawkins, and could you explain why?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is I think if you watched what he had in David Edwards, and even Aaron Kromer talked about it in his interview with Eric Wood, Edwards is an incredibly smart guy and really kind of took a lot of the communication over. And if you watch the way that tandem worked, Edwards is really in charge of a lot of communication and setting up the blocking schemes and things like that. And, I just don't know. Some players are really good at that stuff. Some players aren't. And we know how Deion is. He's a little unorthodox, unbelievable football player. And I still think he has a ton of football left in him. But I just think Deion's one of those guys that walks out and wants to play. Not maybe as much into the communication stuff. Let me line up, let me whip my guy and go about my business. And I just think it's important that, for how that whole thing works and the communication chain, you got one of those guys there.
What do you have a level of concern about Dawkins, Brown, Torrance with a new offensive line coach? I mean, I guess what I'm asking, Jerry, is like with Aaron Kromer departing, he would have, of course, worked with them for years. Not like they're going to forget the things that he worked on with them and how he let them be the players that they are. But what will be different now that he's not there and there's a new voice in the room? Would you, I guess as an offensive lineman, when you get the next coach, it's not like you forget everything you knew before. So is there a level of concern, or what will be different for these players?
Well, we talked about that the other day when we were talking about Osiris Torrance, and I think when you look at what Kromer did, I mean, I think Kromer's an unbelievable offensive line coach. I do think he put a lot of stress on his players and how they block things. I mean, they were a ton of one-on-one blocks. Even in the running game, they weren't a team that really forced a lot of double teams. And when you look at a guy like Torrance, I mean, he's kind of a classic duo downhill monster. He's a double team, throw guys around and all that. And I think, we haven't seen what Pat Meyer does yet. I mean, I know he's the Aaron Kromer disciple. That doesn't necessarily mean that everything he's going to do is exactly like Aaron Kromer did it. So there's a chance that things could be a little bit easier on this line if he does more slide protection and more helping out in the passing game, and we keep backs in and we do more true double team stuff up front. So there's a chance it could be a little bit easier, especially with guys like Edwards and now McGovern probably leaving. You need to be, I hate to use this term, but maybe dumb it down a little bit for some of these young guys until they get their feet wet.
And on Torrance, I want to put this like in the context of the Bills have re-signed a lot of their own players, and I think some that might be critical of that would say they sign guys that are just good, and maybe that gets in the way. Is Osiris Torrance a player you think is definitely worth an extension? Should they wait another year just to be sure? Because last year was all about extensions: Rousseau, Bernard, Benford, Shakir, Cook. Is this guy a slam dunk extension, or is it not that easy for you?
Well, it probably wasn't a slam dunk if we were keeping some of these other guys. I think we need to worry about continuity and keep the talent we have in-house as much as possible. I think it's like I said earlier, I think it's kind of a weird situation with Osiris Torrance. I think he's a really good football player. If you watch some of his limitations, it is some of the one-on-one type stuff, especially in the passing game. I do know some of the stuff is technique and how they were taught. I know some of it is the way the blocking schemes are. I think he's a hell of a player. And here's the other thing, guys, that I think we really need to look at. He doesn't miss games. He plays. And in the world of salary cap football, you better have players that are available. And Torrance is a very talented player. He's young. He's one of your own. And I think that, I think he is worthy of that extension. And it's the old Eagles adage, right? We pay him a little bit too much now to get him cheap later. I think it'd be a good idea.
So to that, how would you feel about the idea? I guess this is not likely because McGovern is saying that they're not really in touch. But if they had decided, you know what, we think McGovern or even Edwards, I guess for this matter, are more worthy of an extension than Torrance, we're going to do that and go into it with Torrance into the final year of his deal. Like, would that be a bad idea to you, that Torrance should be the one of the three that they would prioritize long term?
No, I don't think it's a bad. I don't think it's a bad idea. I hear what you're saying. It's like you start trading off. If you get one or two of these other guys, you let the other one go, and you're going to have to. I mean, that's just attrition as far as it's monetary attrition. You don't have enough money to go around. I think they're all really good. I think they're all pretty even as far as talent goes. You're looking at Torrance and a guy that's young, right? I mean, there's the big difference. I mean, I think Connor McGovern's looking at like 7 years. I think Edwards is about 8 or 9. So you've got guys that are very similar as far as talent, but you got a difference in age. And then you also got the durability factor. The thing about McGovern yesterday in the article with Tim Graham and all that, and I read it and everything. I mean, it's obviously to me, it served purposes on multiple sides. I mean, it was kind of one of those deals where it was kind of a negotiating aspect, I think, by McGovern, if you know what I mean. You get that thing out in the public and you haven't heard from anybody, so you kind of let your stance be known without talking to anybody. But the other thing is, he talked about playing hurt and everything, and been there, done that. And the thing about playing hurt is you're going to get a ton of respect from your teammates. You're going to get a ton of respect from your coaches. Front office really doesn't care. I mean, when they got decisions to make, they don't care if you played hurt or not. They're going to make decisions. And like I said, I've been through it. It's been that way for years. And, he gets a lot of props from me, but unfortunately, some people, it's not a big deal to them.
Big O, Jerry Ostroski on the Western Hotline on the offensive line, which will see some turnover, it would appear. Jerry, thanks. We'll talk later today.
Hey, guys, I appreciate you very much. We'll talk soon. Jerry
Ostroski. You can find him at the Overreaction Buffalo podcast, also on the Bill Squad show on YouTube with yours truly and Joe Marino. We'll go today and talk